Okay. It is another day, and I last night figured out how I wanted to do this lace effect that is with the Algerian Eyelet stitch. And I thought I better again do a little bit of it before I start telling you how I did it, because this was a theory and now I've actually kind of did it, so that helped. One thing to note, well, several things to note on this pattern is I do not design this pattern, stitch it, figure out any pitfalls, and then fix it, and then do this for a free pattern. So this is a non-tested pattern. So one thing, if you have been following me along on the curves, now looking at this, I'm going to come in and actually smooth out the curves a little bit. I think there's a way where it doesn't have to be so jaggedy. And I will fix the pattern that I put up online for you. But if you're listening to the video and you're like, well, that doesn't look like what my pattern looks like, you're absolutely right that your pattern is going to be a somewhat modified pattern. So the other thing about the Algerian stitch is I already think I have a video where I showed you the theory of an Algerian stitch that I'll put up. But when you're doing this, there is no way, well, there probably is a way on the software. Between software and Photoshop I could, but I'm not going to. That, in theory, in the Algerian stitch, that is a hole you're making in between the squares of thread. Here, it looks like I'm saying that is a square of thread. That is not a square of thread. That is just in this space you're going to pull so you get a hole. So I don't know how other people teach Algerian stitch. I haven't really researched it. Consider my patterns of Algerian stitching to be what I would call a suggestion, meaning you're going to do the pattern of the Algerian stitch in this space. But it's not verbatim. Like, this hole is not necessarily 1, 2, 3. And the hole is actually going to be in between the two squares. So the way you do it is, it's like lace knitting. Once you know the pattern, you really don't need to keep looking at this. So, so the pattern we're doing, if you look, is an Algerian stitch, and the up and down and across go over 3 holes. The diagonals go over 1 hole. Start somewhere near here and make 1. You know, like this one, that's a full one. Then everything else is going to be off of that 1. The other thing is that if you think about Algerian eyelets, all we are working hard in is creating a space. We're pulling the thread. There's a hole here. We're pulling the thread around a hole to make the eyelet. So this is not true in the pattern, because this looks like I am doing this around a square. So for this, you got to disregard the actual, technically, like, it's not going to be 2 over, 3 over, like we're doing a stitch. We're trying to make a hole. We're trying to make negative space. So this is just a suggestion. So basically, this is made up of a full Algerian eyelet, where the up and down and the sideways are going to be over 3 holes. And then the diagonals are going to be over 1 hole. And then in between the two, one thing to kind of look at is, again, the negative space between the how the Algerian eyelets are connected is there's going to be a space here. Actually, this is a square of cloth that comes up this way. So this is more a pattern than a counted chart. You're just seeing the pattern we're going to be doing for the lace effect. So I've just done this one. So the long over threes are going to be connected on the horizontal and the vertical. So this is the start of a new Algerian eyelet. The key to making this look good, there's a couple tricks. You can't go this way and then go this way, and then you need to spiral around. You're trying very hard that you don't pass a thread through that hole, and the tension you pull is going to go opposite out. So like here, I just did the bottom of this one basically. I'm not even looking at my pattern. So now I need to do a diagonal one, and I'm pulling a little bit. When I come up, I'm going to now go, I'm spiraling around, but now I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, because this is one of my vertical horizontal lines. Give it another little tug. It's making that hole bigger. I'm holding the tension with my finger. And then I'm going to do a diagonal. Give a little tug. Now, in theory, you just got to kind of guesstimate the direction. So when it butts up against the heart edge, we're just going to put it where we think it's going to go if it's close to the heart. Same thing with this horizontal one. And then we have the space to come down and do this one. Now, if I then, went a different direction with my thread, this stitch is still affecting how nice of a hole we're getting on from the back. I still need to get tension. I still need to get tension on that last stitch that is helping that hole. So I am going to anchor it off and give a last little tug of tension to make that hole. Okay, so now going off of the long and the short of this, I know that long-wise we're going to have. Now I need to make sure that if something like this, my thread is here. If I come across to here, I might take thread across that hole. So I need to travel I'm going the wrong direction. I'm going to travel on the back side to get my thread now over here to this side without going over where that hole is. So here I am ready to do my next one. So I've just done my horizontal. I'm going to do a diagonal. I'm traveling in a spiral. I'm giving some tension. Now I'm going to do my vertical 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to come up to here. Give it some tension. In other words, I'm pulling. I'm pinching it with my finger so that I'm controlled pulling. Diagonal. Give some tension. Okay, technically I don't have a lot of places to go for this, the horizontal one, but I'm still going to put a stitch in there to pull. Same thing with my up and down one. Pull, so I'm pulling, And then same thing. And when I bring my needle in, I'm trying really hard to make sure that I'm not picking up fibers. And then pull. But I still need to anchor the opposite direction of the star, then the eyelet, so that that last stitch has tension. Okay? So now, up here's my long. This is where my next one's going to be. So I'm going to spiral around, which means we're going to do this one first. Come back up to my hole. And now I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, because that's up and down or sideways. Come back up through my hole. Tight. I'm helping this one because we're going to go there next. Go there for the diagonal. Give it a good pull. Finish, kind of go underneath where that heart starts. And then go for my across. And you just kind of have to guess if it's butted up. And then go here for my diagonal. And if you notice, those little diagonals should always be kind of coming together on the corners of a square. But then I have to go away. Give it a little squeeze. Go away from that Algerian eyelet so that hole stays open. Okay, so now I know, since this diagonal is here, this is going to come here. So there's my diagonal. This time I'm going the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to come up here. Give it a good pull. Come down. There's my up and down. Here's my other diagonal. Come back up through the hole. Oh, nope, sorry. I should have. See? So I just need to guesstimate where I think that a cross one would be on the edge. Oh my gosh, I keep doing, see, I'm going backwards. So that's up and down. And you're going to have to occasionally fudge to what looks good. You know, so technically I really didn't do a diagonal on that one. So, and that's okay. That's a totally fudged one on that corner. But we got a good hole. And then this last one, I need to make sure I go the right direction for the tension, away from the hole, and lock it off. Okay. I changed out my thread, and I'm just looking here on our pattern. So I know I need a diagonal here to complete the pattern on this side. And I would like, and we're in frame, right? And I would like to say, while I'm doing this, I should not talk while I'm doing this. In your head, you're basically you're wrapping, you're coiling around the woven thread fabric with your thread on your needle to coil around that hole. And if you're like, what? That doesn't make sense to me. I'm just trying to kind of explain in your head kind of what you're doing. And that might be helpful to you, and it might not be helpful to you. Okay, come on, get the rhythm. And there definitely is a rhythm that once you're in the rhythm, it's good. And then 1, 2, 3, getting out of the rhythm messes you up. So I'm just pulling. So there's my horizontal. I am in frame. Kind of holding the tension with my finger and my thumb. Come on. I'm pulling to make that hole bigger. And then do that diagonal. And then I need to flip it over and go the opposite direction. Just find some way to anchor the opposite direction of the hole for the tension for that last stitch. Okay, so now where I know in my pattern of my diagonals, I need to come this way. Get that diagonal. 1, 2, 3. I'll be up here for my vertical. And then I need to go diagonal. And then in theory, we're going to have a vertical-ish one here. And then in theory, I think we kind of have lost that other diagonal, so I'm just going to fudge down and then finish it off with my another diagonal. Because fudging is just fine. But most importantly, I need to go flip over and go the opposite way of the hole. Give a good tug. So I went the wrong. There's a good example of going the wrong direction with my tug. So see what I did? I went the wrong direction, which is the exact opposite of what I wanted. So we're going to take that out. If I could figure out where it is. Aha, found it. And we're going to go the other way. Because we should have gone the other way. Not across the hole, the opposite direction. There's my string. So I needed to go this direction. Come on. In one way, I love having nice long threads because, but another way, they're kind of a pain. There, now we have a hole. All right, so then I need to scoop back up to, it's not the way to do that. Can I scoop back up to here? Let's see, where are we at? And I want to point out, remember, this is Ada. This is Ada, and I'm doing Algerian Eyelet lace with no hoop. So not to say you shouldn't do Algerian eyelets or Algerian stitch on linen in a hoop, if that's the way you like to stitch. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just this idea that you can't do, I hope that this kind of knocks out the idea you cannot do specialty stitches on Ada. It was designed to do specialty stitches on it without a hoop. Or I'm guessing without a hoop. I mean, there's not that much online about it. I have looked. So if anybody has anything to read about Zweigart and Ada fabric, I would love to read it. Okay, I'm just kind of, since we did that fudge of our direction, I'm just trying to clean it up here a tad. Like I think I needed a diagonal there. And I think in theory I should have a diagonal here. Right? Yeah, I should have a diagonal here. And I think actually I should have a diagonal here. So that all should be diagonals. And we need a I think we need a diagonal down there actually. Oh, so I'm coming back down again. And this is an important thing that I think to point out. I am a classically trained artist. That's the way I see things. I am not an instructor of needlework. And so this is not going to a county fair, which, you know, if it was, maybe it would be judged on fudging right here to get the vertical, the directions of the stitches to go the right way. I don't think fudging is something that is highly appreciated in if it's going to the county fair. In fact, I guess I would say that it seems like they don't really care what it looks like or the artistry of something. They just are more concerned with the stitching of something. And so if that is your thing, I mean, craft is amazing. Skill is amazing. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying this is probably not the right channel for you. So now looking visually at this now, that looks better. I literally just fudged a couple stitches where it was too open. So now come back to where we need to be. And we need to be here. Because there's my diagonal. This is my next Algerian. Then we're going to come down to here. And then we're going to go 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 up as far as we can go up to here. Oh, we got one more diagonal. And then we're going to do a diagonal here. And then we're going to flip it over, go away from the hole, give a good tug, Now, the whole time you need to kind of be paying attention to your little ones that are barely on the edge. Like I needed one there. And then technically there should be one here. So I'm going to add those in. And then also, which I need to travel so I don't go across, make sure I don't go across a hole. And then I still need another one here. And here. Okay, and then here would be the start of one. That would be like that. I think technically that is all. And then it actually would go across like this and come to there would be one. Which means that there would be a diagonal here. And a diagonal here. And a, oopsies, I want to do that. And then one here that would come down like that. And one that technically, that would come across to here. Okay. And then there would be one here that would come across like this. And then would come down. Getting tight quarters. I think that's about the best I can do there. You don't have to get a stitch in just because on the pattern you should be getting a stitch in. All right, so technically that is the hole there, which means it would come across like this. And this would be a hole technically, which means it would come straight down. I am totally fudging right now. But it only came down 2 holes there. So let's say that that really should be there. 1. So there kind of just needs to be one that goes across. Like that. Which means that there would be a diagonal there. Which then means there'd be a diagonal there. There'd be diagonal here. We're back into the fudging. So, and then there'd be a diagonal to, so there'd be a diagonal to here. Which means this would be a hole here. So this, if you do this one like this, that would mean straight down would be a hole. Straight down would be a hole. Diagonally here would be a hole. Cross would be a hole. Diagonally would be a hole. And I think that would be good. Yeah. So anchor our thread. Okay. Which means that this would be a hole here. This would be the vertical. And excuse me. And then this would be the diagonal. And there would be a nice vertical diagonal there. Nope. That's wrong. And if you're watching this going, no way, that is totally fine. You can certainly finish off your Valentine. You're just at the edge. You don't have to do this lace work. Watching this also, I'm assuming that if you want to do an Algerian stitch, now you know how to. Why am I confused about this one? Oh, this one, I'm not doing my horizontal. And the purpose of this whole thing I'm doing is really my intent was not to make a pattern, because I'm giving this free. It's just a seasonal. Okay, I gotta think a second here. It's just a seasonal thing I'm going to put up to teach, techniques I use that people might be interested in. Not required at all. Now, when you're going in the round, eventually you're going to come to the same place, which means probably, again, some major fudging. So like here, 1, 2, 3, I should be there. Okay, so what I'm going to do. I'm going to fudge. More fudging. Okay, since this is kind of weird here, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make sure that this one is right. So 1, 2, 3 is up to that one. Give it a good pull. Diagonal and over. Now we have this one and we have this one. Technically this one should come to here, and technically that one should go to there. But what we're going to do is we're just going to put them together. And make one very long. So that one's all done. This one needs a diagonal there. A long one here. And then technically there's the start of another. This is total fudge. We are fudging, fudging, fudging. But again, I don't think really that you would probably notice if we weren't stitching them. And you'd be amazed about how much fudging happens in art. Fudging so it looks right to the eye, but technically it's not accurate. Happens all the time. Alrighty, so that has either inspired you to try to do the lace work like I did on the edge, or it has made you go, I don't think so, which means, you know, you could also go around this with some other colors and just do an edge again. Yeah, but hopefully now you do know how to do an Algerian eyelet, and you see that it is certainly something that can be done on Ada very easily. It's not that complicated. I now see a way where I can curve these a little bit better. So do not go off my directions when we were stitching that edge as gospel in my count. Look, my pattern will be a little bit different than yours. And so next we will be cutting this and turning it into a sachet with dried lavender inside and putting a loop on it.